Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back to the session. So we will be discussing about the deployment, and we have seen, previously that quite a little concept of that, but in this session that we're gonna deep dive into that and just wanna explain you that how somebody can deploy the machine learning model into the real world and how can they get a leverage of So first of all, that have to be think that the model in production environment is a crucial for making their predictive capability accessible to the users or the other system. So that it just make you out that the prediction things and just try to match up with your output. So that's what. And we have seen in the previous session that the first it should be go for the training things, then afterwards validation, then after deployment, and then have to be monitor the things that how the performance is, and is that the okay with your business things and all. Importance we can see for the model deployment. So here are the it says that the theoretical model into practical tools that can generate insight and drive decision in real world application. So for an example that a deployed fraud detection model can analyze transaction in a real time to prevent fraudulent, fraudulent activity. So that's how it works for that, and importance is the same time. We're gonna look for the some steps and model deployment here. So first of all is that the pre-deployment preparation, model packaging, model integration, and model monitoring management. So these are the things that that have to be make sure that the steps to be follows in the model deployment side. So it says all of the things that the entire ensuring that the model achieves the desired matrices, right? Such as an accuracy and the speed should be matchable, and it should scalable, reliable, and maintainable in a productive production environment overall. And like the including ensuring the availability of the necessary hardware resources like a GPU, CPU, installing requirement, software dependency, and the configure the environment setting to match the deployment requirement. So that's how it works. And deployment strategies you can look for that. So shadow deployment, canary deployment, and A/B testing. So shadow deployment is actually simpler that the in a business environment, if something is existing model is there, so side by side you can use your new model to test and figure it out that is just working out good for you or not. So that's what for the shadow deployment for that. And it says that the help to ensure that the new model meets the requirement performance matrices before the fully deploying it, right? So that's how all about the shadow deployment things. Now we're gonna have some look for the canary deployment. So what is it? So it's that the strategy where the new model is gradually rolled out to a small subset of users. So in this scenario that we just give to the the small, it says that the small subset of the users. So it's okay, it would be like the more professionally and team leads that gonna be lead and check up and figure it out that the is that working out good for now. So it was a trial for that, and really checking to give in some amount of people, and they will figure it out that is working good for not or not. So allow for the monitoring and new models performance in a controlled environment before deploying it to the all users. So the small subset where they have mentioned in the definition actually. So if they are okay with that, then they're gonna allow the things for the all rest of the users to use the new model. Otherwise it would be on hold. Now gonna look for the A/B testing. So A/B testing involves deploying different versions of the model to different user group, comparing their performance. So once again we're gonna look for that. So different version of the model to different user group and comparing their performance. So this allow evaluating which perform better in terms of metrics such as accuracy, speed, and user satisfaction. So it's all about that we have the couples of models in there, and the A/B testing what it does that it gonna compare the performance and the accuracy of the models um, amongst them and choose you to help you out to choose for the best model out there for your business. Now gonna look for the some challenges in the model deployment kind. So scalability issues maybe you can occur. What it says that sometimes that the business is not the model architecture is designed to handle increased traffic and the data volume is not there. So it should be there. So that's the reason that the scalability issues happens. Latency constraints. So actually latency constraint is all about that if something mismatch with that, then they gonna slow down your models and model retraining and the updating. So sometimes cause of the unupdated things, you gonna miss out something. So that's gonna uh, bad impression for the accuracy actually for your model performance overall. Now gonna look for the machine learning system architecture for the deployment. So it's all about for the deployment involves several keys components. So firstly the data pipelines is responsible for collecting, pre-processing, and the transforming data for model input. And next, the model training component uses this data to train machine learning models, which are then evaluated and validated. So once a model is trained and ready for deployment, it is developed using a serving infrastructure such as Kubernetes or the TensorFlow server. Now gonna look for the some tools and the platform for the model deployment. So it there is a that the always been a actually ID you can say that the required for the model to perform, and through that you can actually figure it out and control the things very easily. So here are the tools you can say that the Kubernetes, Kuberflow, MLflow, TensorFlow serving. These are the tools that help you out to deploy the model. So Kubernetes gonna have to talk about. Then it is a container actually container orchestration platform that manages containerized application, ensuring scalability, reliability by automating the deployment, scaling, and management of uh, containerized application. So that's how things work out for that. And Kuberflow is a machine learning toolkit built on top of Kubernetes that provides a set of tools for deploying, monitoring, and managing machine learning models in production. And MLflow is same thing, the open source platform for managing the end-to-end machine learning lifecycle. And TensorFlow is a flexible and efficient serving system for deploying TensorFlow models in production. It allows for easy deployment of TensorFlow models as microservices with the support for serving multiple models. And now gonna look for the best practices for deploying a machine learning model. So automated testing, version control, and security measures are there. How do you deploy ML models actually? So first of all, gonna have to that the create a model in training environment. So we use actually Jupyter for that. So build your model in an offline training environment using training data. ML teams often create a multiple models, but only a few make it out to deployment. Right? Optimizing and test code. So ensuring that your code is of high quality and can be deployed, and clean and optimize the code as necessary. So and test it thoroughly to ensure it functions correctly in a live environment. So you have written the code, so uh, that written code should be workout, so you have to be optimize and the test the code for that efficient and the good purpose. So prepare your container employment. So what does that mean? So model before deployment. Container are predictable, repeatable, and the easy to coordinate, so making them ideal for deployment. So they simply deploy, scaling, modification, and updating of model deployment. So it's all about that the last time you checking the model, is that working fine or not. And it won't entirely change the model for you, but just gonna have some use some features from your deployment part. Plan for continuous monitoring and the maintenance. So now we have deployed our models in that, and afterwards that we have to check the performance, that is that working out good or not. So continuously monitor for issues such as data drift, inefficiency, and the bias. So regularly retrain the model with new data to keep it effective over time. So gonna look for the conclusion here. So deploying ML model into production environment is a multi faceted process, so requiring a careful planning, robust infrastructure, and the continuous monitoring. So by following best practices and the leveraging the right tools, so organization can ensure their models provide a reliable and the valuable insight in real world application. So effective deployment and transform theoretically models into actionable tools that can drive business decision and generate significant value for you. So guys, that the for the today's session we have seen actually how you can deploy your model actually. So what are the points you have to be figure it out and have to be think of it. We have seen at the very first that the what is that the deployment part. Afterwards we have seen that the importance and key steps we have seen, right? And then deployment strategies, we have seen that the how the strategy is gonna be work out for your business, and how you can achieve your model to perform in a very good way. And challenges we have seen, there were three challenges were there, scalability, latency, and the model retaining updation. And architecture deployment we have seen, and the tools we have seen, that the tools that helps you out that the deploy your model into a real world things. So we have seen that the Kubernetes, TensorFlow, so these tools are the actually very popular in the market. Other than that, the Kubeflow, MLflow is not that quite well, I would say. And best practices we have seen that that the how you gonna look for that, and steps we have seen overall. And then that the ML models how to deploy. So where we seen that the training part have to be done in the dummy environment, that the use the dummy kind of data set, so that that gonna be help you out to do the more practices rather than doing the actual work in that. So optimizing the test code, test your codes, optimize the things if there is a need. Prepare for container deployment. So container deployment is all about the last thing. Actually you check your codes, all those things are working out in a good way. And usually that the they don't actually change it for the whole things, but they just keep you uh, updation part. If something is good for that the feature, then they can extract the features out of your deployment things or model that you have created, or you can say that the container in that. Plan for continuous monitoring. So after all those things has been set up, right? So the actually end thing we have to focus on the care about the model. So how you gonna care the things? Just checking the monitoring and the maintenance, is that the working fine, And if it's not, then you can give some feedback, and always look for the updation development part for that. And we have seen afterwards that the conclusion and all this, the how things are to be there to deploy the machine learning model there. And if you talk about the session for the whole thing, so we've been discussing about the machine learning part. So we have seen that the first of all that the machine learning intro, afterwards that the machine learning foundation and data pre-processing we have seen, right, that the how the data has been taken into the models, and what are the rules and regulations have to be followed, and where we get the data, and how the data should be like that, and what are the rules that you can make your data set in a good order, or particularly order, you can say the things. And afterwards that we have seen creating machine learning models. So we have seen that the how you can create your models, your own models as well, and what are the actually advantages, disadvantages are were there, and you can say that the steps we have seen in that actually. So and then after that, that today's session we have been discussing about the machine learning deployment. So you got the data, your rights, and afterwards that you set up your model, and then the last part was that the deployment part. Deployment is kind of that the make your container into the real world entity. So that's what we've been seeing today. And for the tomorrow session would be more of a like that the some advanced level of the topics, and afterwards that we're gonna be finishing up with the session for machine learning part. So that's all of my time for today, and see you in the next, catch you in the next. Till then, bye, peace.